The city of Los Angeles never slept. Tall glass towers reflected neon lights, cars honked even past midnight, and the streets stayed alive with endless voices. For most people, this noise was a sign of opportunity. For Emily Carter, it was beginning to feel dangerous. At 29, Emily was proud of the life she had built. She managed events for celebrities and high-end companies. Red carpets, glittering parties, big stages. Her calendar was always full. People admired her confidence and independence. Yet behind the stylish dresses and sharp smile, Emily carried a quiet fear. It had started with an email. Just a single line. You think you're safe. You're not. At first, she laughed it off, believing it was a prank. But more messages followed. Some warned her to quit while she could. Others described details about her daily routine. What time she left her office, what coffee shop she stopped at, even the blue dress she wore at a meeting. The turning point came one Friday night. Emily returned home from a gala, tired and ready to collapse on her bed. But at her apartment door lay a brown envelope. Inside was a broken glass bottle and a note in bold, black ink. You're next. Her hands shook as she read the words. For the first time, she admitted the truth. She was in real danger. The next morning, Emily shared everything with her best friend, Hannah. They sat together at a small cafe, the city buzzing outside the window. Emily, this is serious, Hannah said, her eyes wide with worry. You can't. Just keep ignoring it. Whoever this is, they're watching you. Emily stirred her coffee slowly, her mind heavy. What do you want me to do? Call the police? They'll say it's just messages. Then get protection, Hannah said firmly. A bodyguard, just until this blows over. Emily almost laughed. Her, with a bodyguard? It sounded ridiculous. She was independent, proud, and didn't like depending on anyone. But deep inside, she knew Hannah was right. That evening, after hours of hesitation, Emily called a security agency. The manager promised to send their most reliable man first thing in the morning. The next day, Emily walked into the agency's office, expecting to meet a tall stranger in a black suit. She rehearsed her introduction in her head, prepared to stay formal and professional. But when the door opened, her world froze. Standing there was a man with broad shoulders, dark hair slightly messy, and familiar deep brown eyes. His face carried new lines of experience, but Emily would know him anywhere. Ryan, she whispered, her throat dry. He blinked in shock. Emily, her chest tightened. It was him. Ryan Blake, her ex-boyfriend from college. The man she had loved for 3 years. The man who left without saying goodbye. She stood frozen, memories rushing back like waves. Late-night study sessions, walking hand in hand across campus. His laugh, his promises, his kiss. And then, the day he disappeared, leaving only silence. Her body tensed. You're the bodyguard? She asked, her voice sharper than she intended. Ryan's jaw tightened. Yes, they assigned me to you. The room grew heavy. Emily crossed her arms. No, this is a mistake. I'll find someone else. The agency manager frowned. Miss Tadance Carter, Ryan is one of our best. He has years of field experience. You'll be safe with him. Emily's mind raced. She didn't want Ryan in her life. Not again. Not after the heartbreak. But the manager's words echoed. Our best. Safety was more important than pride. Fine, she said coldly. But this is strictly professional. Ryan gave a small nod, though his eyes held something unspoken. Understood. By evening, Ryan was at Emily's apartment, setting up his post. His suitcase rested by the door, and he began checking locks, windows, and exits with sharp focus. You'll need me here full time, he explained. I'll stay in the guest room. Emily bristled. I don't need a babysitter. This isn't babysitting, he replied evenly. It's protection. If someone is watching you, they could strike any time. My job is to be here when that happens. His voice was steady, professional, but Emily could still hear the warmth she once loved. That only made it harder. She kept her distance, trying not to look at him too long. But in quiet moments, she caught herself, remembering the boy he had been, the one who held her hand when she was scared of exams, the one who promised to never let go. Now here he was again, not as a lover, but as her protector. That night, Emily lay in bed staring at the ceiling. The apartment felt different with Ryan in the next room. Part of her wanted to storm in and demand answers for the past. Why had he left? Why hadn't he called? Another part of her wanted to stay silent, afraid of reopening old wounds. As her eyes grew heavy, she whispered into the darkness, "Why now, Ryan? Why here?" But no answer came, only the faint sound of his footsteps as he walked, the hallway, keeping watch. The next morning, Emily woke to the hot smell of coffee. For a moment, she thought it was just an old memory. Ryan always made coffee for her in college, strong and sweet. But when she stepped into the kitchen, there he was, standing tall, with 2 mugs on the counter. "I made you some," he said calmly, sliding one toward her. She raised an eyebrow. "You still remember how I like it?" "Some things you don't forget," Ryan replied, his voice low. Emily hesitated before taking the cup. The warmth spread through her fingers, but her heart stayed cold. She didn't want to fall into old habits. Not with him. They sat at the table in silence for a few minutes. Ryan studied the security footage from a small device he had set up, his face serious. Emily tried to focus on her emails, but her eyes kept drifting to him. Finally, she couldn't hold it in anymore. "Why did you leave?" she asked, suddenly, her voice sharper than she intended. Ryan froze. He looked at her slowly, his eyes heavy with regret. "Emily," he sighed, rubbing his jaw. "It wasn't because of you. My family was falling apart. My father was arrested for fraud, and debt started piling up. I was drowning. I thought the only way to protect you was to cut you off." Emily's throat tightened. She remembered those nights when she waited by the phone, wondering if he was hurt, if she had done something wrong. "You didn't even give me a choice," she whispered. "I know," Ryan said, his voice rough. "And it's the biggest regret of my life." Silence hung between them, filled with years of pain and unanswered questions. The rest of the day, Ryan shadowed at her like a silent shadow. At her office, he stayed close during meetings. At lunch, he scanned the crowd before she sat down. Emily found it both frustrating and oddly comforting. When they returned home, they found her apartment door slightly open. Emily froze. "Stay behind me," Ryan ordered, his voice sharp. He pulled out his weapon and moved inside, every muscle alert. Emily's heart pounded as she followed at a distance. The living room was messy, drawers open, papers scattered. Whoever had broken in hadn't stolen valuables, but had clearly searched for something. Ryan picked up a note left on the counter. "This is just the beginning." Emily's knees weakened. She sank onto the couch, clutching her arms. "Why me? What do they want?" Ryan knelt beside her, his eyes fierce. "Whoever it is, they want to scare you. But I won't let them touch you." That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She walked into the living room and found Ryan sitting on the couch, still awake, watching the door like a hawk. "You should rest," she whispered. "I can't afford to," he said. "Not when you're in danger." She studied his face, noticing the one small scar near his temple she hadn't seen before, the lines of exhaustion on his forehead. He had changed, older, rougher, but his eyes still carried the warmth she once loved. "You've really been through a lot," she said softly. Ryan glanced at her. "So have you. You've built a life for yourself. You don't need me anymore." Emily's heart ached at his words. She wanted to deny it, to tell him she had always needed him, even in his absence. But pride kept her silent. Instead, she sat beside him. The closeness was electric, the air thick with emotions unspoken. For a moment, she almost leaned into him, almost allowed herself to feel safe in his arms again. But then she remembered the years of silence, the pain of being left behind. She pulled back, her walls rising again. 2 days later, Emily had to attend a major corporate event at a luxury hotel. It was important for her career. Canceling wasn't an option. Ryan insisted on accompanying her, blending into the background as security. The evening started smoothly. Emily smiled, shook hands, and gave her speech with confidence. The evening started smoothly. Emily smiled, shook hands, and gave her speech with confidence. But as the crowd applauded, Ryan noticed a man in a dark hoodie, lingering near the exit, his eyes locked on Emily. Something felt wrong. When the event ended, Emily walked onto the parking garage with Ryan, close behind. Suddenly, the man in the hoodie charged at them, a knife glinting under the fluorescent lights. "Emily, get back!" Ryan shouted, pushing her behind him. The attacker lunged, and Ryan fought fiercely. The sound of fists and grunts echoed through the garage. Emily's heart raced as she watched Ryan block a knife slash. His arm grazed, but not broken. With one powerful punch, Ryan knocked the attacker down. The man spat on the ground and hissed, "She doesn't deserve the spotlight. She'll pay." Then he ran into the darkness before Ryan could catch him. Emily rushed to Ryan, her eyes wide. "You're bleeding." "It's just a scratch," he said, brushing it off. But his protective arms wrapped around her, strong and steady. For the first time in years, Emily let herself lean against him. Tears blurred her eyes. "Ryan, thank you." He looked down at her, his voice raw, with emotion. "I told you, I won't let anyone hurt you. Not now. Not ever." The night after the parking garage attack, Emily couldn't sleep. She sat in her living room, knees pulled to her chest, listening to every sound outside the window. Every creak of the building felt like a threat. Ryan sat across from her, his arm wrapped in a bandage where the knife had grazed him. He tried to hide the pain, but Emily could see it in the way he clenched his jaw. "You should go to the hospital," she said softly. "It's just a cut," he replied. "I've had worse." Her eyes welled. "You could have been killed, because of me." Ryan leaned forward, his gaze locking onto hers. "Emily, listen to me. Protecting you isn't a burden. It's what I want. I failed you once, years ago. I'm not failing you again." Her heart ached. She wanted to be angry, but his words disarmed her. She had lived for years thinking she meant nothing to him. Yet here he was, risking his life without hesitation. The police questioned Emily after the attack. They confirmed what Ryan already suspected. The man was linked to a competitor, someone who had lost a big contract to Emily's company. The threats were a twisted attempt to scare her into quitting her career. "Until he's caught, you're not safe," Ryan warned. Emily sighed, her shoulders heavy. "So, I just live in fear forever?" "No," Ryan said firmly. "You live, and I'll handle the fear for you." Something in the way he said it sent warmth through her chest. For the first time since the threats began, she believed she wasn't alone. Over the next week, Ryan stayed closer than ever. He walked her to meetings, waited outside her office, and kept watch at night. Emily began noticing little things. The way he always positioned himself between her and strangers, the way his hand hovered near her, back as if ready to shield her, the way he never seemed to rest. One evening, as they prepared at dinner together, Emily asked, "Do you ever regret leaving?" Ryan's knife paused mid-slice. He took a long breath. "Every day." "Then why didn't you come back?" She pressed. His voice was low, heavy with guilt. "Because I thought you deserved better than a man, drowning in family scandals and debts. I wanted to fix myself first, but by the time I could, I thought I'd lost you forever." Emily looked down at her hands. Her heart screamed to forgive him, but her pride whispered not to. Still, his honesty stirred something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. 2 nights later, Emily woke to the sound of glass shattering. She bolted upright, her heart slamming against her ribs. Ryan was already on his feet, gun in taut hand. "Stay here," he ordered. But Emily followed him into the living room. The window was broken, glass scattered across the floor. Spray painted across the wall were the words, "Quit or die." Emily's breath caught. Her legs trembled, and she clutched the edge of the couch to stay upright. Spray painted across the wall were the words, "Quit or die." Emily's breath caught. Her legs trembled, and she clutched the edge of the couch to stay upright. Ryan rushed to her side. "Emily, look, at me." His hands cupped her face, forcing her eyes away from the wall. "You're safe. I'm here." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I can't live like this, Ryan. I can't." He pulled her into his chest, his strong arms wrapping around her as if to shield her from the world. "You won't have to. This ends soon. I swear it." For a long time, Emily stayed in his arms, listening to his heartbeat. In that moment, the fear faded. All she felt was the safety she once knew, the love she had buried but never truly lost. Later that night, they sat together on the couch, the broken window now boarded up. Silence filled the room, heavy but tender. "Emily," Ryan said quietly, "there's something you should know." She turned to him, her eyes still swollen from crying. "I never stopped loving you," he confessed, his voice trembling with sincerity. "Even when I left, even when I thought I was doing the right thing, I loved you every day. I still do." Emily's breath caught. Her heart pounded. She wanted to speak, but words refused to come. Ryan leaned closer, his eyes searching hers. "I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a second chance. But I need you to know the truth." Her chest tightened. For years she had dreamed of these words, of hearing him admit he still cared. And now, sitting here with danger outside their door, she realized something she had been afraid to admit. She still loved him too, but before she could answer, Ryan stood. "Get some sleep. I'll keep watch." As she watched him walk to the window, standing guard like a daunt soldier, Emily whispered to herself, "Maybe love never really ends." The morning after the break-in, Emily woke to the sound of Ryan's voice. He was on the phone with the police, giving details about the intruder. His tone was steady, calm, professional, as if nothing rattled him. But Emily could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight he carried on his shoulders. When he hung up, she asked, "Did they find anything?" "Not yet," Ryan replied. "But they're close. The man who attacked us and bought the garage is connected to your competitor. It's only a matter of time before they bring him in." Emily sighed with relief, but fear still clung to her chest. "And until then?" Ryan's eyes softened. "Until then, you have me." 2 days later, the police called with news. The attacker had been caught. He confessed to being hired by one of Emily's biggest rivals, a man desperate to destroy her reputation and steal her contracts. When the news broke, Emily's competitors faced charges, and the threats finally came to an end. For the first time in weeks, Emily felt the tightness in her chest ease. She could breathe again. She was safe. But now came a different kind of fear. The fear of losing Ryan once more. That evening, Ryan began packing his bag. "What are you doing?" Emily asked, panic rising in her voice. "The job's done," Ryan said quietly. "You don't need a bodyguard anymore. I'll tell the agency to send someone else if you still want protection." Her heart dropped. She had prepared herself for this moment, but the reality still cut deep. She watched him fold his clothes with military precision, every movement calm but heavy with finality. "So, that's it?" she asked, her voice trembling. "You just walk away? Again?" Ryan froze, his back to her. After a long silence, he said, "Emily, I don't want to, but you deserve stability. A man who doesn't come with scars, mistakes, and baggage." Emily's eyes burned with tears. She stood, her voice shaking. "Ryan, I waited years to hear why you left. I cried myself to sleep, wondering, what I did wrong. And now, when I finally know the truth, when I finally see you again, you think I want you to leave?" He turned to her, pain etched across his face. "You're better off without me." "No," Emily whispered, stepping closer. "I'm better with you." For a moment, neither of them moved. The tension was thick, their emotions raw. Then slowly, Emily reached out and took his hand. "You risked your life for me," she said, her voice steady now. "You stood by me when I was most afraid. You don't get to say I'm better without you. That's my choice, and my choice is you." Ryan's eyes glistened, his walls finally breaking. He pulled her into his arms, holding her tighter than ever before. "I love you, Emily," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I never stopped, not for a single day." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she buried her face against his chest. "I love you too. I think I always have." In the weeks that followed, Emily rebuilt her sense of normal. The threats were gone, the rival faced justice, and her career was stronger than ever. But the biggest change wasn't in her work, it was in her heart. Ryan stayed, not as her bodyguard, but as her partner. He cooked at breakfast in the mornings, teased her about working too late, and guarded her not just from danger, but from loneliness. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Emily said softly, "It feels strange." "What does?" Ryan asked, his arm draped around her shoulders. "Being happy again." She smiled faintly. "I thought I lost that when you left, but maybe we just needed time apart to find our way back." Ryan kissed the top of her head. "I think we were always meant to come back. Some love doesn't end, it just waits. The end."